Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Sterling.
I'm Amber Kriska. We are taking an in-depth look at the synthetic opioid, fentanyl, the drug that has a deadly grip on West Michigan and the country.
We will take you beyond the numbers and bring you the stories of those most impacted in our communities.
In the last 5 years, fentanyl-related overdoses killed more than 10,000 people in Michigan alone. We begin our special report with the Grand Rapids family devastated, like thousands of others across the state, by fentanyl's lethal dose.
Target 8 investigator Susan Samples reports this family's story began 2 decades ago and thousands of miles away as a young couple met their son for the first time.
We are officially here. We made it. This is our room. I think that's them.
Yeah.
We just pulled up.
Hi.
We think it's... Oh, there he is. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, look at the baby. There's our baby.
Oh, this is when he was first walking, I think. Oh, man. Look at you go. Do, 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 do. Hi. Whoa.
This is my story. This is my song.
None of us would have imagined that we would be here in the middle of the morning, in the middle of the week, for this occasion.
But the last thing he said was just, I love you, Dad, and thanks for not giving up on me.
Carlos Comrade had always felt and thought deeply.
Very contemplative. He thought about things. I mean, from a very young age.
He was the kid who helped other kids feel seen and heard. He treated kids the way he wanted to be treated.
Kevin and Stephanie Comrade's son was also curious, creative, passionate.
Our kid would get into something and get into it.
Carlos loved to just paint and explore.
He was an artist, first on canvas.
So we love having this up here.
It's always gonna end the same.
Then in studio.
I'm broken, I'm damaged, but it's okay because I can manage.
Dark lyrics written by a teenager in pain. First physical, Carlos fractured 2 vertebrae when he fell out of a tree at 12 years old. Then emotional. He was diagnosed with severe clinical depression as a high school freshman.
It was music that was helping to keep him alive.
Music and another love, bikes.
This is one of my favorite bikes that I have, and really the bike that got me into starting to work on bikes my own, you know.
Carlos was 17 in this video, unaware that he had just 1 year to live, struggling by this time, not just with depression, but addiction too. The comrades say it started with weed, then Xanax.
That's what hooked Carlos, is one time he tried Xanax, and that is street Xanax, right, just got him, and he never fully recovered.
They tried everything, multiple inpatient rehabs. Carlos was home briefly in January 2023, sober and working, looking for an apartment when he relapsed.
He bought drugs that had fentanyl in it, and it took his life. He stopped breathing. And the next morning, there he was. I didn't accept it until the paramedics were here. It still seemed like he's okay, right? Like what? And just the 911 call and the Narcan and it was all too late.
It's been 2 years since mourners gathered here to celebrate the life of Carlos Comrade. He was one of 3 teenagers who died from fentanyl poisoning in 2023 in Kent County. The state health department reports fentanyl deaths are finally declining, but not before killing more than 13,000 people statewide in less than a decade.
Carlos loved trees.
The comrades wonder if pain meds Carlos took after his tree fall set him on a path.
Ball. Yay! Good job!
Yay!
It is beyond bittersweet, watching the joyful early years, knowing they would only get 18.
He loves his mom. I didn't say goodbye to him, and the night before he passed away,
If she could just go back.
I would tell him that I love him so much and that I'm proud of him.
According to data from the state, the number of fentanyl-related deaths have declined since 2021.
Factors that have contributed to the decline are increased enforcement, more resources for treatment, and widespread distribution of Narcan.
I just didn't know what to do. Like, I couldn't believe it because James just, I don't know, I just couldn't believe it.
Up next, we are diving into a deadly mass overdose in Kalamazoo.
Hear how one family had their entire world changed and how police were forced to change their tactics. It was a mass fentanyl overdose in Kalamazoo in 2023 that also served as a tragic example of how deadly and dangerous fentanyl can be. A drug dealer sold fentanyl disguised as cocaine that caused multiple hospital admissions and at least 8 deaths in and around Kalamazoo in April of 2023. Those events forced law enforcement to adopt new tactics in an effort to turn the tide.
We had the mass poisoning incident here in Kalamazoo, and we had a lot of death, a lot of overdoses, and that was all people thought they were taking or using cocaine, when in fact it had fentanyl in it.
Law enforcement officials say what Kalamazoo experienced in April of 2023 is a snapshot of the crisis that many still confront across America today. Multiple overdoses, including 8 deaths, all driven by fentanyl and users who often have no idea they're consuming a deadly poison.
The source of supply could be Chicago, it could be Detroit, it could be Grand Rapids. We just don't know. The common thread is if there is a demand, then there's going to be a supply.
Fentanyl remains among the deadliest drugs on the street. Just a few grains can be enough to kill an adult, and it's not always easy to spot. Fentanyl is often mixed into other illicit or prescription drugs. Users often don't know what they've taken until it's too late. Cheap, easy to turn, and profitable, it seems to be everywhere. In 2024, the Kalamazoo Valley Enforcement Team seized 2.5 pounds of fentanyl and more than 10,000 fentanyl pills.
What we've been doing over the last, I'm going to say year and a half, is we've been publicizing some of those victories, right? And I think the public is seeing the work that we're doing, and I think that the criminals are also seeing that the work they're doing.
The tide may be turning in Kalamazoo. Arrests are up, and some intervention efforts are taking root. The number of tragic events like what happened in 23 are coming down, but officials know that they'll never prosecute their way out of this crisis, and the next wave may be just around the corner.
Will the cartels come up with something new? Will China come up with something new? I'm sure they will.
In the wake of the overdose deaths, 2 men pleaded guilty to distributing fentanyl in connection with the 8 who died in Kalamazoo County in 2023.
Among those killed in 2023's mass overdose was James and Steve Williams. I sat down with a family member of theirs and talked to her about how fentanyl changed her family's world.
I just kept hearing sirens like back to back, and I remember wondering, like, what is going on? What is wrong, you know?
Natasha Williams would soon learn those ambulances were responding to someone close to her.
A lot of screaming and hollering.
Just moments after learning her cousin was dead, she would find out she lost her brother.
I just didn't know what to do. Like, I couldn't believe it because James just, I don't know, I just couldn't believe it.
But what exactly happened to them?
We didn't know what was happening.
Williams' family wasn't the only one looking for answers.
Even at that time, sirens still going off.
In a 24-hour period, first responders in Kalamazoo County responded to at least 18 overdoses in April 2023. Inside the lab at WMed, forensic toxicologist Prentice Jones was trying to figure out why these drug users were dying.
My initial thoughts was, for sure, this is some sort of opioid.
But the challenge for Jones, finding out which opioid was the killer.
This is a positive.
Jones took blood samples using high-tech lab equipment.
We were able to run the preliminary screen And what we found in that screen was fentanyl.
For the people who overdosed and died, they had no idea they were consuming fentanyl.
You impacted a lot of people. You ruined a lot of people's lives.
Williams' brother James and cousin Steve Williams were found dead in a car on Vine Street.
They thought they were getting cocaine, and unfortunately it was laced. Losing two people that are so loved at the same time is just horrible.
You can see where it's much higher.
At the lab, Jones is looking at data and keeping a close eye on the numbers.
There's a slight, very slight decrease in the number of fentanyl-related deaths we're seeing. But that's not something to get excited about.
Jones says when there's a decline in one drug, there's usually an increase in the use of some other drug.
We're seeing an increase in some of the fentanyl analogs. For instance, carfentanil, which is very troubling.
It's 10,000 times more potent than morphine and 100 times more potent than fentanyl.
This is their favorite spot.
Williams remains angry and devastated about what happened that day. But she finds comfort at Lakeview Park in Portage.
This is where I feel close to them.
James and Steve spent many days out in the water fishing, and that's how she wants to remember them.
It's what I just picture them doing. I just said they're gone fishing. They're not gone away from here. They're just gone fishing.
It's a life-changing experience for a child. More than 1,600 kids lost a parent due to overdoses from 2000 to 2022. How researchers are making sure they have access to resources that could help them deal with loss.
Despite low numbers of overdoses in children, fentanyl has touched the lives of children in Michigan in irreparable ways.
Teresa Weekly has a look at the new research happening in the state that could lead to better care for the youngest survivors.
The numbers tell part of the story. 10,000 children lost a parent to a drug overdose in Michigan between 2000 and 2022. In West Michigan, that includes more than 1,600 children. Researchers from 2 universities in our state are now working to identify where those children are and if they have access to the resources that could help them deal with the loss. Losing a parent for any reason is life-changing for a child. It can be even more challenging when that loss involves an overdose.
Really, our mission is to ensure that no child who has experienced a parental drug overdose death grieves alone.
Louisa Compt is a professor at Wayne State University working with other researchers through Hope HQ. They want to know where the child bereavement service deserts are in Michigan.
And we did notice that the children who experienced an overdose death in their families, that their bereavement process was unique and more complex.
This map shows areas of West Michigan where deserts exist, meaning places where children don't have easy access to grief support after losing a parent to an overdose. Kent and Calhoun counties have the worst ratios of care options.
We all need to do better.
That's no surprise to Karen Ketterer, the program director for Ellie's Place in Grand Rapids.
What happens in silence is people suffer in silence, and they don't get the support that they need. And then, those kids don't know what to do with all of those feelings.
Ellie's Place offers support for children and their families as they grieve.
What are the unique challenges for kids like that who have lost a parent to an overdose?
So sometimes they can feel more isolated than even they would for another type of death due to other circumstances. It can make them feel like they don't have anyone to talk to about it.
Children who come here are part of support groups with other kids who know their pain.
Due to the prevalence of substance use deaths, they're very likely to have another child within their group that have experienced that as well.
Ketterer shared an experience with one family she says is common. The child didn't know how their parent died and thought someone had broken into the house and killed them.
It came out within group that they thought that somebody came in and hurt their person, and they were having a lot of trouble with sleeping and nightmares and things. And through those conversations that were being had in each group, we were able to work with the family so that they felt comfortable talking to their child about what happened.
The grandparents were hurting too and were left to figure out how to manage while suddenly raising a grandchild.
That family is doing remarkably well, and we've gone past childhood into the teen years, and you know, she's doing great.
Researchers at Hope HQ want to make sure more children have access to agencies like Ellie's Place as drugs like fentanyl continue to steal parents away.
The researchers used data from the state, cross-referencing overdose deaths with names on birth certificates to identify where these children are. They plan to publish their findings sometime this year. They're already sharing their process so other states can do similar research. In the studio, I'm Teresa Weekly, News 8.
Still to come, a West Michigan-based organization is helping reduce the harm of drugs.
Next, we look at the work done by the Red Project and the legal challenges surrounding harm reduction. For more than 2 decades, staff at the Grand Rapids Red Project have been working to reduce the negative consequences associated with drug use.
News 8's Brittany Flowers explains the technology that's allowing them to take that a step further and the legal challenges surrounding harm reduction.
2 years ago, the Grand Rapids Red Project became the first in the state to offer real-time drug checking with an FTIR machine.
I only need like half a grain of rice. That's at least what we tell people.
People bring in a small sample of whatever they're using.
So we can see here that this one has some fentanyl because this peak matches very well.
And the machine shows which substances are in it.
The supply of opioids that's available in our community is highly complex right now, and it's highly dangerous, and it's highly variable.
Executive Director Stephen Alsum says a significant amount of opioid samples contain fentanyl, one of the deadliest synthetic opioids.
We're trying to advance harm reduction services in Michigan, really provide people with access to the knowledge, information, tools, and support that they need to stay healthy and stay alive.
The success of the Red Project's drug checking program allowed the organization to expand its services into Muskegon in its second year, and this year they're taking it even further, providing support to similar programs in Flint, Ypsilanti, and Kalamazoo.
So I'd really like to see drug checking programs be available in more areas of the state of Michigan.
The challenge, Alsum says, is many of the tools people need to stay healthy and alive are criminalized. It's something Representative Carrie Reingans has been working to change. In 2023, she introduced 2 bills that would decriminalize drug testing reagents and syringes for the purpose of harm reduction programs.
There are different local ordinances, and sometimes you don't even realize you've passed from one township to another or a city to another city. So we would like to standardize this exemption for syringes and fentanyl test strips, and even naloxone is necessary across the state.
On the other side of the aisle, Representative Brian Posthumus believes the solution is harsher punishments for distributors and border security.
I'm a person that has dealt with an alcohol problem in my past, and I don't know that enabling that is going to be helpful. And so we need to be focusing on ensuring that the drugs aren't making it to our communities first and foremost.
But harm reduction advocates don't see it as enabling, arguing drug users are going to use either way, and seeing the decline of fentanyl deaths over the last few years.
So we really need to sustain that investment in harm reduction programming that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years and build on that.
Representative Reingans expects the harm reduction bills to be reintroduced in the next couple of months.
Meanwhile, 2 bills introduced by Republican Representative Sarah Lightner establishing harsher penalties for fentanyl manufacturers are under consideration in the House Judiciary Committee. Over the last half hour, you heard how fentanyl has destroyed thousands of lives around West Michigan and the country.
If you or someone you know is struggling with drug addiction, on your screen now is the number for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. We also have more information and resources posted online at woodtv.com.
That's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us.